Sam.
Well, welcome, JP. This is about maybe I'll edit this, but I'm meant to be marketing my show for the Galway Theatre Festival. Char Char.
Okay.
And I was like, and they were really brilliant. Jane Hanbury's really brilliant, and she was like, do some stuff on social media. And then I thought, oh God, what should I do? And I was like, I just want to chat to interesting people and ask them about ritual, because that's one of the themes of my show. So
cool.
I just want to ask you, JP, as you are the Renaissance man of Galway, brilliant artist, doing a PhD on food and performance, which is how I know you, and also being the high priest of food in Galway. I thought I'd ask you about ritual.
Yeah, okay. This is a difficult question, but I think I have two very different types of ritual in my life. I think one is as like the way you describe me. I suppose the external perception. So the ritual of the restaurant or being a chef, public figure, that kind of thing, and that would be, I suppose, one mask to me, and then I suppose the daily rituals that involves, and I suppose for want of a better word, the performance that involves every day. And then there's I suppose the meat and that's at home, which is a different kind of ritual, and that could be, I find that one very different. I suppose the other one is very outward looking, probably is seen as confident, like knowing, and then the inner one is a bit more confused, less knowing, and sometimes unsure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but they feed each other, right? Probably.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think there's always a sense of failure or hanging around what I do, or a fear of that, and maybe that's why I do so much. I mean, the compulsion to do restaurants and do PhDs and write plays and do paintings, and like the do list never ends, and maybe that's like it's a positive thing to do things all the time, but it's also, you can become entrapped in that ritual. You can be entrapped in that, having to do that every day, and then feeling, when you don't do something, then feeling bad that you're not doing something, and then saying, well, why amn't I doing something? And so it's a kind of constant push pull thing that I go through.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been talking to a few people, and one of them was the lovely Mairead Folan, and she was talking about being able to, kind of referring to being able to create your own time, like maybe an actor, before you go on a performance, you just find a little stillness, because you've got to bring your own time with you to bring the audience into the time that you're doing. But I love this idea of maybe you can get slightly trapped into ritual time, because one of the things that, like, if you were looking at the sort of anthropological anatomy of a ritual, is that we have to release it at the end. But say in some academic work on cults, it's like what actually you're trying to do is keep people in the ritual time. So my mum and dad have got a Peloton, they love it. And like, you're like, we ride together, and you have this like language, and you're really pro Peloton while you're in the class, and then you like turn the bike off, you're like, oh God. And maybe you talk about Peloton a little bit too much with your friends, but really you're back in normal world, right? You're not in vibes the whole time. But like, say if you were trying to set up a community or a cult, you would be like, let's do Peloton vibes the whole time. But actually, that actually is too much, it's too heightened. And there's something about rituals that we need holidays, we need days off. And then, but then it gets kind of worry, because everything then becomes a ritual in its own way. Like maybe, like, because we have less holidays now than we used to in medieval times, like the pressure on Christmas is like so full on, say, like, and then, like, Christmas isn't Christmas unless we've got chestnuts or whatever. And then, but anyway, I'm wittering on, but I think
no, they're interesting, and it's interesting with the Peloton. I mean, the restaurant but just as an example, the restaurant would be very like that, when service starts, and a little bit like, as you said, the actor's time. I mean, you enter into service, and you're kind of like in you're in this mode, you know, this ritualistic mode of serving, which is different from the way in which you are possibly on at other times. But it's interesting because when people see you during that ritualistic process, often they take it that is the way you are, you know, particularly and so particularly when I'm involved so much in food, and then when you meet someone, all they want to do is talk to me about food, and I was like, I don't want to talk about food anymore. It's like, talk to me about anything else except food. Talk to me about soccer or something that has not, and that's also the problems of I think of ritual. But yeah, it's interesting, like you talk about like the cycle of ritual and the break, because I think that's interesting, because I think that certain rituals that one does do have breaks, like opening and closing the restaurant, and but then I think when you're, I suppose for me, when you're artistically inclined, and like sometimes that ritual never ends, you know, it's this constant, like I always call it like the rat in my head. It's just like he's on a treadmill. It's just like constantly, and sometimes I feel like that definitely in relation to the more creative work I do. It's just and maybe because it doesn't have as much external validity as my restaurant work, you know. So the restaurant work has beginning, middle, and end, but sometimes the creative work is just a kind of swirling chaos, because it's tied into my daily life, but it doesn't really have a beginning and an end, you know.
I'm quite interested in this. This is now going off ritual, but in structure, I love it when, if somebody gives me a structure to play in, like I love being an actor because the director's there, they create a playground and they sort of say play, and you know the rules often, but then you can break them a little bit, but you're still held. And I love a course, because I'll just go in, I give everything, and I'm held by the structure. I'm not so good at creating my own structures to work within, because I can see all the loopholes and tear them down and all the rest of it. And I just wondered, about you in structure, because in the sense that maybe because you don't have to end it, you can keep going. But I was thinking even rats need to sleep and
no, I suppose I do sleep. Like I always find like the process of writing now, whether I'm writing a cookbook, sometimes it is, as you said, it is so much more, I wouldn't say enjoyable, but when I wrote the Irish cookbook, it had a beginning and an end. Like it had to be done by a certain date. But there's other cookbooks I have written and other bits and pieces that have no beginning and end, and they're just an endless writing. And then you, I suppose, have to question, like, why am I writing? Like, why do I feel compelled to engage with the ritual of writing every day? Like, why is that? And because I can see other people don't need to do it, and other people live their lives fine. But why, since whenever I was 15 or 16, in my late teens, why did I get this compulsion to write and then feel I have to do it? Even though it did produce writing that was seen externally, like my Irish Times column and all these other things, but not the writing that I wanted to be seen, you know? And then sometimes I feel bad if I meet a journalist who's like a real writer in the way I'm a chef, and they go, oh, it's great you have a column. And I'm like, fuck the column. I mean, like, Jesus, it's not even real writing. And they go, what the fuck do you mean by that? And I go, well, it's just, I write it on my phone and it's just about food. And they go, that is real writing. And I go, well, no, it's not the real writing I'm talking about. And I remember getting a journalist getting very upset with me, going, well, if you don't need the space, I could be using it to get paid. And I was like, all right, sorry.
But it's interesting, these like snobberies we might have about our own as well. And I really wonder about, this is writing and this isn't writing. What is
exactly
that mean? Or like, even like because I write sort of literary plays, write, you know, like with people, but then the play I've made, which I'm super proud of and I'm really excited about, I make it in this intentionally oral way with my director in the space. And I'm really proud of that. But there is this little good girl inside me who's like, yes, but if you really want to see some good writing, look at this, because this is kind of just a transcript, is kind of just a map of what, it's like an invitation for me to remember the images and the stories that I'm telling, because it really is meant to be an oral piece, but the pull of the primacy of writing, like, come, and then I'm trying to polish it up, but I'm also like, but it needs to be alive, like, because it's a different thing.
But it is interesting, and I think it's a weird type of snobbery. And even though I wouldn't, like, when you talk to normal people, that they do perceive it as snobbery, and then I don't. Like, it's not that I have some sort of deluded vision that this type of writing is more important than this type, but I suppose it's just the personal choices.
Underneath it's like the bit under your coat that it's like the gold watches. It's like
I mean, like for me it's very easy to write about food, but it's very difficult for me to write, say, if I'm writing a play or a novel, it's really difficult, and it has no beginning or end or middle. Sometimes it could take 3 years, and I could stop and start and stop and start, and then most of the time, I think I have all my writing saved since 2004. I lost everything before 2004, I think, or 2002 maybe. I lost it on a computer, but I have everything saved, and it's just there for nobody. It's just like there in files, and occasionally I look back and go, why didn't I finish that? And I go, I don't know, that looked good at the time. And like I'm very bad at finishing things, really bad. And that's why I think when you talked about structure, sometimes you need that external, like often I would find a playwriting competition, even that, like some obscure bullshit one, and I go, do you know what, I'm gonna that is the date I need to finish the play, and I send it to them, and of course I never hear back or anything like that, but but it's just, I find that's the only way I can finish things. It's just because otherwise they just keep on going on forever, and there's just and at least that you need that, because otherwise there's that, as we talked about, there's that internal chaotic ritual that just is never ending. Like, it feels like at the inside, the time you have inside you, your kind of subjective time, is very different from your external time.
I'm reading a really great book on time actually at the moment. It was written in 1999 or 2000 by Jay Griffiths, who's this writer I really like. It's called Pip Pip, and she actually does a sort of gender critique of time as well, but all sorts of different time, and how, sorry, I had a Swiss movement teacher at drama school, and he was like, time is money, especially in Switzerland. And that was Benjamin Franklin who said time is money. And he's like lies about, it made me feel much better about my relationship to time, because I can get lost in something, which is the joyous feeling of flow, and then you don't know what time it is and you're late for something else. And I really enjoyed Galway because everyone talked about Galway time, and I was like, I fit in here.
No, but that you're absolutely right. There is, and even we had a chef visiting us from Romania over the weekend, and we were talking about Galway and the attraction of people to Galway, and I was jokingly saying, like, that kind of Las Vegas thing, like whatever happens in Galway stays in Galway. Like, and it is, a lot of people use Galway to escape time. Like, they would go up on a stag or a hen or a weekend or a week, and it's kind of like, it's almost like you mentioned the medieval period and that kind of like breaks of ritual. It's almost like Galway is the place where they can go mad and then go back to their real life. And it's weird when you live in Galway and then people have that, Galway is such a great place because you can go mad, and you go, well, I have to work as well, it is a real place as well. And so we were talking about this because he was from Romania, and he was like kind of seeing Galway for the first time, and observing this. But there is a distinct Galway time, and possibly the Dublin time is the one where time is money. It is much more of a city, and it pushes itself like a city. And maybe that's what brought me to Galway in 1999, was that element of the arts and of time being very fluid, and like you could say it's always the weekend, whether it's Monday or Tuesday, like Galway has a very fluid time in terms of the days of the week, whereas Dublin is or major cities, they're very distinct. It's the weekend.
Yeah.
It's the week, and it's Monday, because on any given Monday, you could be forgiven for forgetting it's not Saturday in Galway,
And then also with like restaurants and theatres, they are pretending, or not pretending, but you're working when other people are in leisure time.
Yes.
And that's that funny. You're having to bring a sense of time, but also I know that you go foraging, so you're also deeply connected, and all your food and ingredients are really fresh. So you're also really connected to the natural world, which I think helps sanity.
Yeah. No, that it actually does. I mean, that kind of sense of, outside the kind of spring, summer, autumn, outside the categories that you have of it, you realize that like natural time is very different from the ways in which we try and pin it down. Like we might say, oh, spring is when all the flowers come up, and we need to say, well, when is spring? Is it February, March? And then it might be May in Ireland before a lot of stuff comes up, because we have an idea of spring in our head that starts February, March. But for me, a lot of spring starts in the summer, and a lot of summer starts towards the end of the summer, maybe into the autumn. And then the autumn kind of extends into the winter, because when you're looking at stuff flowering, or you're going out picking herbs, sometimes it's interesting to say, oh, this one's really late, or it's weird the way, even you could say it's strange the way Cork gets stuff before us and we get stuff before Donegal, even though we're all in the same time zone. Like, it's just because they're warmer places. And they would, like, Cork would get wild garlic a couple of weeks before us, and we'd be looking and saying, oh, that must be coming up soon for us. And Donegal would be like saying, oh, I didn't get any yet because we're cold up here. But yet, because of, I suppose, of the internet and social media and travel, it appears that we're all in the same temporal space,
Yeah. I just spoke to a Finnish friend of mine who's been in Lapland filming, and she was like, we just drinking prosecco and watching Peaky Blinders, because it's just been so and I was like, wow. And we've been like, sunshine, there's been sunshine. Yeah. It's all going on. Well, JP, maybe we should stop it there and impose some false structure on this conversation and open it up another time.
Yeah, listen, that is fine.
That's wonderful. I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm going to talk to you normally.